The Connell Oil Heat 1A of the Weston Columbia Cup ready to get started, and here's who you will see. The heats have been drawn randomly. The drivers got to select their lane choice based on who qualified the fastest, and on the inside it will be the Miss Elam Plus, the U16 in lane number 2, the Oh Boy Oberto in lane number 3, the U5 FormulaBoats.com, the U100 Jerry's Tavern in lane number 4, Albert Lee Appliances in lane number 5, and on the outside in lane number 6, the U22 Matrix Systems.
Let's take a look at the drivers you'll be seeing here in Heat 1A. Dave Villwalk, our fastest qualifier. There he goes down the front chute, the U16. He chose lane 1, and a little bit of bad luck for Stephen David, the Oh Boy Oberto. There's Dave Villwalk. He'll have lane 1 in the U16, Elstrom's Elam Plus. Steve David, second fastest qualifier, drew the same heat as Villwalk, has to go to lane 2. Then Jeff Bernard in the U5, the Red Boat. FormulaBoats.com. He has lane 3. Greg Hopp is in that low profile, very dark colored U100 Jerry's Tavern. He'll have lane 4. Brian Perkins' boat is yellow and green. The 48, Miss Albert Lee Whirlpool presents Miss Albert Lee. And on the outside, the rookie out of Reading, Pennsylvania, Mike Webster, the U22. It's an all-white boat, Matrix Systems Automotive Finishes. All 6 boats, Mark Allen, on the water and running. The conditions are beautiful. This should be fun.
Should be a great draw. It's going to be a great heat with the Elstrom Elam Plus right next to him, the Oh Boy Oberto, and a boat that could take this whole thing. That would be the U5 FormulaBoats.com, driven by Jeff Bernard. Now, they're not fighting for lanes. The lanes have been drawn, as we said earlier, based on who qualified the fastest when the boats were randomly drawn into the heat. And I think Mike Webster, as a rookie, still starting on the outside and maybe a little bit back. They start to form up now with 1 minute and 10 seconds to go down by the Blue Bridge turn. Everybody knows what lane they're supposed to be in, so it's just a matter of finding their lane and finding that timing mark to get around here and not jump the gun.
And an interesting note, the second part of that, the boats that finish the best here in 1A and 1B will have last choice in 2A and 2B. So if you do finish toward the end of this heat in 4th or 5th place, very good chance you'll be on the inside when they draw the lanes for 2A and 2B. We are at 43 seconds. The field is halfway up the back chute, some of them moving fairly quickly. Several of the drivers have different timing points. It looks like Greg Hopp is going to move up a little bit ahead of the field here. He might have to slow down. Dave Villwalk running a nice pace over in lane 1 in that bright orange Elstrom's Elam Plus.
We're looking at Greg Hopp on the inside and Brian Perkins on the outside as they come to the top turn. Steve David laid way back. Now he's fired up in lane number 2, and he's going to come flying around the turn. As you see him come down with 13 seconds to go before the start, you've got 6 boats coming right down the straightaway, Steve Montgomery, with 6 seconds left.
It is the Red Boat. That's Jeff Bernard moving out into the lead here. If he's timed it okay, and he has, it's a good start for Bernard, and he leads it across the line. Greg Hopp right beside him in the 100, but you can bet Dave Villwalk is inside those rooster tails.
And next to him would be the Steve David Oh Boy Oberto boat, and that boat should be out in front as well as they head to the Blue Bridge turn. 6 boats coming side by side, and right off the bat we can see Dave Villwalk and the Elstrom Elam Plus comes off the turn first. Got a big bounce as he came past that yellow buoy, but hidden in his rooster tail, a couple more boats. One of them is Steve David and probably Jeff Bernard as well.
We couldn't even see Villwalk on the inside as they came by to make the start because Bernard was out ahead of him just slightly, but he was right there, perhaps a half a boat length behind, more than made that up in the first turn, and he is the leader. But right now, Mark, we have 4 boats in one rooster tail as they go into the second turn.
Dave Villwalk brings it out wide, spreads out the field just a little bit, just off of his hip. In second place is Steve David of the Oh Boy Oberto, Jeff Bernard, and then way on the outside is Greg Hopp in the U100 Jerry's Tavern. End of lap number 1, it's Villwalk first, Steve David second, Jeff Bernard third. Here comes Greg Hopp in 4th place as Villwalk almost to the entrance pin now to the Blue Bridge turn. You're watching him negotiate that on the inside lane. A lot of boat speed there.
They were very evenly spaced as they came by, running true to form. It's exactly the way they qualified, exactly the way the lanes were selected, so no surprises here. Villwalk on the inside, about a rooster tail, ahead of Steve David in the U1 Oh Boy Oberto. Then it's back just about that far again to Jeff Bernard in the U5. You're watching the second place boat. That was Steve David in the Oberto. He's running fast up the backstretch, but Dave Villwalk is gone. If he keeps it together, there'll be no catch in the orange boat.
We're watching Jeff Bernard. He's starting to close in a little bit on Steve David. He moved to the inside lane of Steve David. So we're looking at Dave Villwock come off the turn.
There is a question mark beside Dave Villwock's name right now. A possible penalty on the U16. So we will stand by. That would be a huge story here for a couple of reasons that we'll talk about in a minute. Villwock comes by to finish lap 2 in first place.
Steve David across the line in second, and Jeff Bernard started to reel him in. We're hearing some engine compression stall from somebody. We can't tell who that is. Villwock halfway through the Blue Bridge turn, and Steve David now to the inside of him as Villwock moved to the outside just a couple of lanes. You'll see Steve David try to reel him in on the inside with a shorter way around the course. A big bounce for Jeff Bernard, but you're looking at Dave Villwock halfway up the backstretch on lap number 3 of 3 times around.
Mark, you mentioned Villwock swinging a little bit wide as he came out of the second turn the first time, and he's been penalized 1 lap. We think that might be the call right there, but Dave Villwock has incurred a huge penalty here in 1A. He's the leader on the water. A 1-lap penalty moves Steve David up into first place. Second place now is Jeff Bernard. Third place, Greg Hopp. This is a huge call, and it will have a big effect on the weekend. Here comes Villwock, but it won't matter. He will not get a checkered flag.
And now Steve David does get the checkered flag as he comes across the finish line, and following up another half a straightaway behind him is going to be Jeff Bernard. You're watching Steve David as he heads down toward the Blue Bridge turn. Dave Villwock still running at racing speed. He knows he's got a lap penalty. Third across the line would be Greg Hopp in Jerry's Tavern, the U100, and Brian Perkins following up behind him.
Now this has ramifications, Mark, in a couple of different ways. Villwock is going to drop from first to sixth in this heat. That's going to cost him a ton of points. Steve David has just gone by him in the national high point standings as a result of that. And when we run heats 2A and 2B, Dave Villwock is going to have first choice instead of sixth because of his finish here way behind the field. So a pretty big story here in heat 1A. Dave Villwock wins it on the water, penalized 1 lap for an encroachment, and that's going to make a huge difference when we get to the rest of the racing this weekend.
Let's throw it down to Scott Reister to interview the winning driver, Steve David.
All right, well, not a bad start for you. You didn't get lane 1, but what allowed you to come out with a victory? The penalty
hooked in some rough stuff down there and blew out in front of us and got the call. And that's the risk in lane 1, is that whatever water there is, you got to eat it.
So lane 2 might almost be preferable the rest of the way?
Well, I'd still prefer lane 1. I think we've got a setup to get through lane 1. He didn't this time. It could happen to anybody. It was not intentional. Dave's a clean driver. Just hit rough stuff and came loose.
All right, well, how about winning the first heat of the day? What does that do for the team?
Well, we're leading in the national championship points now. We were 217 behind. I think he just got 95 points. We got 400. So we go home tonight leading national points. That's a cool deal.
All right, it's a 3-ton boat. You're going 200 miles per hour almost. But when you got that wall of water coming over you from Villwock, what is it like being blinded like that?
You don't see anything. I mean, it's a pretty bad situation. But my guys and my ears are telling me where to go and what to do anyways. But the Alberta ran great. Mike and the team just had it set up perfect for those conditions.
All right, we'll see how they run in Heat 2 coming up on Sunday. Back to you.
Well, here's the way they finished, not exactly on the water because Dave Villwock crossed the finish line first, but you won, Steve David, 400 points. That's not exactly the rest of the story, Steve.
Yeah, we got to do a little correcting on all of this. First of all, the actual penalty on Villwock came as they were in the final turn before the start. The officials ruled that he had given Steve David a little unintentional hip check, actually moved him out toward Jeff Bernard. Villwock then was penalized a lap. In the same incident, they decided that Steve David was not totally without fault. They fined him 150 points, which is different than the 1-lap penalty.
Because they couldn't make him run another lap.
Exactly.
Because the race had been over. Everybody was back
all
at the
done. So Steve David got the win, but he didn't get the whole 400 points. He got 250 points, so he did not go to bed last night, leading in national high points. Dave Villwock is still there by a few, and I think that kind of, obviously there was a lot more to that story, but basically the 1-lap penalty on Villwock stood, 150-point penalty to Steve David, and that's the way everything looks this morning. And
So,
we'll talk about the effect it had on Villwock and when he starts Heat 2B.
And we just saw Scott Reister interviewing Steve David. Let's get the other side of the story because Scott also talked to Dave Villwock after that.
All right, Scott Rice, we're here with Dave Villwock just after the Heat 1B was completed. And Dave, a lot of disputing of that call. Can you tell me what you saw and whether or not you agree with the encroachment?
Well, I think the officials have a very difficult job, but they said that I moved out at the start of the race, right at the start. Well, and almost pushed the 1 into the 5, but the truth was I was behind, about a boat length behind the 1 and the 5, so I couldn't have pushed anybody anywhere. So I don't know what happened there or what they saw from what perspective, but I was clearly, that we just got through looking at the tape, I'm behind everybody about a boat length and right on the exit pin. So what the call was is that I moved out at the start, and that didn't happen.
Does this kind of call ever get reversed? Or can they change it?
They'll go look at the tape and see what they can do. Like I said, referee's got a tough job trying to see, and all the buoys down the straightaway aren't perfectly aligned. You know, and maybe the 1 just about ran into the 5, but he was way ahead of me when he was doing the moving. So I don't know what happened there, but I was just focused on staying to the inside, and I don't know what all happened, but that's the way it goes.
All right, so assuming that call stands, is it tough going to have to play catch up the rest of the week? Does that put you at kind of a disadvantage going forward?
It's just racing, you know. It's the way things go, and, you know, we'll just do the best we can. But, yeah, that one's pretty clear. So we'll see if they actually look at the tape.
All right, thanks a lot, Dave. Back to you guys.
Well, they did look at the tape, in fact, and in interest of getting everybody's side of the story again, Scott Reister talked again to Steve David about the 150 points that he lost. So let's go down to Scott.
Yeah, well, David was a little upset about the 150 points, but he says he's still in good shape. So really no harm, no foul as far as he's concerned. They love the way the boat's working. We were walking up and down the pits this morning, and the big story, a sad story, unfortunately, the U3 will not be coming out of the water today. Jimmy King's driven U3 piston-powered boat will not be coming out because of some skid fin problems. It was more than just a skid fin. Joining me now live, Jimmy King, driver of the U3C behind us. Jimmy, tell us first off what happened.
Well, during that last heat, we had a D-lam in one of the afterplane, the structure of the boat behind the skid fin. Safety-wise, I'm sure we'd have been fine to run it, but if we did continue to run it, I don't think we'd have a vehicle to continue. So
too bad. I mean, you have had the worst luck here. It seems like every single year something knocks you guys out. How disappointing is it? You guys had a great run yesterday. You come out ready to go. What does this do to you guys?
Basically, it makes us more determined to get it right over here. This is one of our favorite race courses. The area, the people, the race course itself. I mean, you just can't ask for anything more. So we'll keep coming back till it gets right.
What's the reaction though when you found out you weren't going to be coming out today?
Nothing I can repair it on the camera, but I mean, it was highly disappointing. But it's one of those things. We just keep working at it, and we'll get her sooner or later. But yeah, for right now, I'm going to kick the dirt a lot, and try and get out of here.
All right. Who do you think's going to win? Of course, you're not out there, so you can't pick yourself. But out of what you saw yesterday,
there's some great competition. I mean, it's pretty much anybody's game. But my money, I'm going to have to go with that orange boat. If they straighten out their electrical problems, I think Mr. Vilwalk will show them the way around.
All right. Well, certainly we'll be missing Jimmy King on the water this afternoon. Back to you guys.